Hello and welcome to Newsfeed, your daily dose of what people are talking about online, from news stories to what's trending. Now, let's first start in Pakistan, which is recovering after being hit by a monster monsoon. The heaviest rains in a decade have left more than 1,000 dead and displaced hundreds of thousands. Over 33 million people have been impacted, roughly 1 in 7 of the population. Climate Change Minister Sherry Rahman has warned that 1/3 of Pakistan could go underwater. Flooding caused by the annual monsoon rains started from the Swat Valley over the weekend and affected Khyber Province in the northwest. Charsada and Nowshera districts of Khyber Province have also been hit hard, and half of the land area of the Jafarabad district in the southwestern Balochistan province has also been harshly impacted and is underwater. While heavy rains during the annual monsoon is the norm and seen as crucial for agriculture and water supplies, this year's downpours have been described by officials as not only unprecedented, but catastrophic. Cameron Yousaf reports on the situation in the Charsada district in Pakistan's northwest.
These are the common scenes on both sides of the motorway in Charsada district, which is one of the most affected cities in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province because of the flooding. And even just behind me, you can see that there is a lot of water. There is a road also going there, but of course neither you nor I can see that road because that road is currently completely under the water. And behind these trees, there is a whole village, I'm told, is currently under the water. It has been inundated with water because of the flooding in nearby Kabul River. And the villagers have taken refuge right in the middle of the road on the main motorway. As you can see that they have taken shelter right over there in the middle of the road. Some of them have been provided tents by the local authorities, but others complain that no government help has yet arrived, particularly the makeshift tents. As you may see that some of them have put together the pieces of clothes or sheets or whatever they have to form shelter under this scorching heat, because the temperature here is really rising and it is very difficult to sit or stand under this scorching heat. So these people have not just relocated to safer places, but they have also moved their cattle on the roadside, because in this flooding, the livestock has also perished. And for these people and these villagers, these farm animals are really their livelihood. These are the testing times for these people, and although that they are waiting for the help from the government authorities, we have witnessed that many charity organizations, individuals are providing them the food and other essential goods that they need, but their miseries may not end anytime soon. The kind of devastation that we saw, the kind of destruction caused by these floodings, the process of reconstruction and the rehabilitation will be very painstaking.
Sweeping across the country, the floods have destroyed crops and farms, which are the main source of South Asia's food. Prices are already skyrocketing, and this comes amid an economic crisis. Turkey, the UAE, and UK were the first to provide international aid to the country. After visiting flood-hit areas, Pakistan's foreign minister says financial help is urgently needed.
They're absolutely devastating. I haven't seen any destruction or devastation of this scale. I find it very difficult to put into words. The phraseologies that we're used to, whether it's monsoon rains or flooding, doesn't quite seem to encapsulate the ongoing devastation and disaster that we're still witnessing.
People worldwide have been expressing their support and emphasizing how serious the situation is on Pakistan online.
The world really needs to pay attention to what's happening in Pakistan right now. These are the kinds of floods they've been seeing since June. Another 100 people died in the last 24 hours, taking the death toll to well over 1,000. More than 10 million people have been displaced. And this is in a country that's grappling with major economic instability and also political instability. So these rains, these floods are catastrophic.
If there's one video I don't want you guys to skip, it's this one. Currently in Pakistan, they're having the worst flood they've had in years. I'm raising money to provide food and shelter for the people of Pakistan who are going through this really tough time.
Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Çavuşoğlu was one of the first political figures to extend condolences to the people affected by the flooding. He said Turkey will always stand by Pakistan. French President Emmanuel Macron took to Twitter to express his support to the flood-hit country, saying that France is ready to provide much-needed help. And Britain's Queen Elizabeth has joined the chorus of support. She's deeply saddened by the tragic loss of life and destruction in Pakistan. Well, no need to buckle up your seatbelts for this next story because NASA has postponed the launch of Artemis 1. It was supposed to be the first human-rated spacecraft to go to the moon in 50 years, but the mission was called off due to what NASA called engine bleed from one of its 4 R-25 engines. The 42-day-long mission's goal is to ensure everything runs perfectly for the human-crewed Artemis 2 in 2024. That will pave the way toward landing the first woman and the first person of color on the moon. The ultimate goal is to establish a base on the moon and eventually take humans to Mars. Alternative days for the launch are now September the 2nd and September the 5th. It just was not in the stars, at least not today. Thousands of people had flocked to Florida to watch the moon rocket's launch, and the rest of us were following the story with great excitement until it got scrubbed. Obviously, it's better to be safe than sorry, but not everyone thinks that way, as there's been lots of mixed reaction online. A lot of people have planned their trip to Cocoa Beach and booked their hotel weeks in advance. This user says it must have been very disappointing for those who waited for hours for the launch at the beach. While some were angry at the last-minute change of plans, this user here thinks only SpaceX delivers constantly, and other space companies have a lot of catching up to do. Meanwhile, some netizens here, like Jerry, think that engine problems are completely normal and cancellations are necessary for safety reasons. Well, Tim Peake, who is an astronaut himself, agrees with Jerry and says the postponement was the right decision. And just like Tim, we're all looking forward to the next window for launch on Friday. A team of experts from the International Atomic Energy Agency is heading to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in Ukraine. The experts will be assessing the safety of the power plant, which is the largest in Europe. There's been growing alarm about safety in the last few weeks, with reports of attacks in the area surrounding the facility. Both Ukraine and Russia have blamed each other. In one of the most significant incidents so far, the plant briefly got disconnected from the power grid last Thursday. Thankfully, its backup diesel generators came online, keeping crucial cooling systems running and averting the possible risk of a meltdown. The Ukrainian Atomic Energy Agency released this map on social media showing which areas would be affected by radiation in case of catastrophe. Alarming news for those in the south and southeastern Ukraine.
Since our district is located within 50-kilometer reach from the nuclear power plant in Enerhodar, in the area of possible radiation exposure, we are distributing iodine tablets to people, to mainly those under 40 years old.
My colleague Melinda explains what the nuclear inspectors hope to achieve.
The day has come. That's how the International Atomic Energy Agency Director Rafael Grossi broke the news on Twitter that IAEA inspectors are on their way to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Accompanied by a very serious-looking photo of Grossi and his 13-person inspection crew, he wrote this: "The mission to Zaporizhzhia is now on its way. We must protect the safety and security of Ukraine's and Europe's biggest nuclear facility." Now, IAEA inspectors are going to assess multiple things. Primarily, they're going to check if there is any major damage to the main building and its facilities. They're also going to check the functionality of the main and the backup safety and security systems at the nuclear power plant. And they're also going to evaluate the working conditions of staff. Now, the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant sits in a town called Enerhodar, and that is directly on the front line of Russia's southern offensive here in Ukraine. And just hours after Grossi sent out his tweet about the IAEA mission, The mayor of Enocadar posted this video and these images on his Telegram. They've been shared widely on other social media accounts ever since. It shows fire burning through cars and a residential building. The mayor says just hours after the mission was announced, the town was again under Russian shelling. It goes to show not only how important this IAEA mission is, but just how dangerous it's going to be as those inspectors enter what is currently a combat zone.
All right, on to what's trending. A Silicon Valley startup has developed technology that can change the accents of call center workers in real time. Don't believe me? See or hear for yourself.
Hi, this is Alex from the customer service aid. How are you today? Great to hear. I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for asking. So how can I help you today? I'm so sorry about that. I'll be glad to help you. Can I get your phone name, phone number, and address to check in on that order? Do you happen to have the order number so I can bring up your order? Thank you. Let me check on the status of your order. Please give me a minute to check on that.
That's actually pretty creepy. So it appears that the technology gives you a pretty passable, albeit robotic American accent. So the startup, Sanis, says its tech aims to tackle the issue of accent discrimination and reduce racist abuse faced by call center staff. But there's been outrage online, with netizens saying language diversity should be celebrated, not put through some soulless voice automator that turns accents white.
Is this a move in the wrong direction? Should we be using this type of technology to change people's accents? This company has already raised about $32 million in funding since June. Critics are saying that they're making people sound too white.
So this artificial intelligence based company, the heads of all of them are immigrants. The website makes sure to tell us. I'm stunned. Is it me? I think the predicate for this company is intrinsically racist. We're supposed to all sound alike, I suppose.
And other netizens have pointed out that while the technology itself is toxic, the call center industry as a whole is equally, if not more, toxic.
The idea of accent reduction and voice neutralization has been used in call centers for a while, essentially removing everything that you know about the English language and accommodating it to serve a customer. This technology takes all that away with the push of a button, but it also takes some other stuff away, right? It removes the humanity from the conversation. That to me is what's concerning about it. I mean, in addition to just sort of sweeping the bias underneath the rug, we're saying that instead of confronting it head on, we're just gonna convince the customer that they're talking to somebody else.
Crazy stuff indeed. Now, a movement to hold kids' cable channel Nickelodeon accountable for the decades of alleged abuse of its child stars has been gathering momentum. Alexa Nicholas, one of the stars of popular show Zoe 101, was one of the dozens of protesters outside Nickelodeon studios in LA recently. The protest specifically called out Dan Schneider, the creator of Zoe 101, and other hit shows like iCarly, Victorious, and all that. He left the channel in 2018 after a probe found he'd been emotionally and verbally abusive. Nickelodeon execs have been accused of enabling this sort of abuse and silencing victims by getting them to sign NDAs. Now, a small piece of cardboard has been sold for an eye-watering $12.6 million. Why? Well, because it's a rare baseball card from 1952 showing a picture of baseball player Mickey Mantle. The sale has set a record for the most expensive piece of sports memorabilia ever sold, beating Maradona's Hand of God shirt by $3 million. Its previous owner bought it for $50,000 in 1991. Its new owner from New York wants to remain anonymous, and I don't blame him. Hikers climbing up Japan's Mount Fuji recently were stunned to see a delivery man with a Domino's pizza. While these pictures went viral and many netizens thought it was too good to be true that Domino's would accept the delivery order, seeing as the climb up takes about 6 hours. And it turns out Domino's wasn't behind the stunt. The supposed delivery man turned out to be an ordinary office worker named Umanami Futoshi, who enjoys cosplaying as delivery men while hiking. He says he likes to dress up in different uniforms to deliver a surprise and smiles at summits. Umanami gets other climbers to take photos of him and at times pose with him as customers, and then posts the pictures and a map of his hiking route on outdoor adventure social media app Yamup for his many followers. That brings us to the end of today's newsfeed. Find this show on YouTube and do subscribe to our channel. Bye and see you same time tomorrow.